Only one loss between these two men, and that was a disputed loss. You could go back in time and look at a young Sugar Ray Leonard or a young Floyd Mayweather. You'd want to? Well, you can right now, some people say. PBC on Spike starts now. Errol Spence says, everyone sees me as a top prospect. Hopefully, after this fight, they see me as a contender.
Those are strong words at 147. So many great fighters in that weight class. Guys like Keith Thurman, Sean Showtime Porter. He wants to be in that class.
And rightfully so. I think he's headed that way. But again, he wants another impressive performance tonight to really thrust him to the top of that division, right below, right there with the contenders.
Right. Jimmy Antonio got to give the superlatives on Errol Spence Jr. What have you seen it when you studied tape?
What I like is his combination ability. He almost never just throws one punch. He works the body very well, and he's extremely patient. That's what I look for in an up-and-coming fighter, patience.
He's been called a ferocious body puncher.
Seeing some of that patience early, kind of reading Van Heerden. Van Heerden, a very awkward kind of style. It's hard to get his timing.
Two southpaws, Antonio. You know the game from both sides, but and we're going to see this in the main event as well. Two southpaws in the main event. Tell us about the style fans should look for.
Well, right here, it's just like two conventional fighters fighting. I mean, they're faced normally to each other, so there's really not any big difference that they're going to have to make any adjustments for tonight because they're both southpaw. And the strong hands is behind him.
I think it makes the jab a little bit more of a factor when you're not facing an opposite stance. Got to use that jab, that lead hand. And so far, Errol Spence winning that battle. Very sharp with the jab.
Van Heerden lowering his hands and stuck his head out there, almost a little bit of a taunt. He told us that early on in the fight, we should look for him to be comfortable. When he gets comfortable, he almost looks cocky in the ring sometimes, he said.
I haven't really seen Spence land anything significant, but it seems like Van Heerden is swelling up already on that left eye.
A bit of redness. That'll add to it, although Van Heerden shakes his head as if to say no.
I think it's from that jab. He's sticking it out there effectively. Spence has landed it a few times. I think that's what's calling that redness around the eyes.
And I like the fact that he's starting out with the jab. You know, if you can't hit a guy with a jab, it's going to be hard to hit him with pretty much anything else. So that's the mark of a guy that really went to school on boxing.
Final 10 seconds of the warm-up round here. Spence seemed to have gotten the better of it. The fighters touch gloves as they go to their corners. We'll be right back. Back live in Toronto, where you look at Errol Spence Jr., one of the most hyped young fighters in the sport, and a fantastic amateur career. He was a U.S. youth champion, a Golden Gloves champion, a U.S. national champion, represented the U.S. in the Olympics as well. When he made it to the quarterfinals, there was kind of a weird circumstance in the Olympics for him. He was originally told he lost a decision to an Indian fighter in the round of 8. Afterwards, they said, no, there was a mistake. They're getting broken here. There was a mistake in the scoring, and then Spence won. He said he could not gear himself back up for the quarterfinal match, which he lost to a Russian fighter.
Well, you know, in the Olympics, there's a lot of things that happen.
There are.
You know
There certainly are.
And, you know, normally a lot of people think that the gold medal really constitutes success going into the pros. But guys like myself, Floyd Mayweather, you know, had great success without that gold medal. And Errol Spence looked like he's on his way as well.
And we talk about all the time, champ. We talk about that amateur career builds your fundamentals. You learn the fundamentals coming up in the amateurs. And what you're seeing out of Errol Spence with that amateur career is really sound fundamentals. Tight punches, hands high. And you see fundamentally a little more sound right now than Van Heerden. Many more gaps in Van Heerden's game. Man, nice.
Solid left.
And I mentioned that eye in the first round, and look at it. I don't know if it's going to stay open for another round or two.
As you watch us live here on Spike, want to remind you to download the free Spike app with full episodes of your favorite shows anytime, anywhere, for free.
And Heerden hasn't found a way to deal with those straight punches right through the guard. He's not moving his head. He's in a straight line, and he's eating a lot of punches. You can shake your head, but you got to find a way around that offense. He hasn't done it yet.
Well, like you said earlier, he understands his position coming into this fight. And again, you know, taking nothing away from him, I think he's come a long way with little. I mean, makeshift gym.
Yep.
You know, your dad training, you really haven't had the top echelon of a trainer. So I take my hat off to him for getting this far.
Errol Spence looks very comfortable now and is just using a bevy of different punches to penetrate the defense of Van Heerden.
All right, now it's target practice. Van Heerden has to find a way to get around this defensively because right now he's getting eaten up.
Went for the kill shot.
Yeah, you saw with that left hand. Spence is thinking about hurting him now. He's been setting him up with the jab. Now he's loading heavier punches.
I think he's been thinking about hurting him about 2 months.
But he's patient, setting it up in the first round with a solid jab. Now he can land some power shots like that.
Left hand. Okay, Van Heerden wants to wiggle out of it, but the crowd reacts to that. Now, what do you make of it, guys? When a fighter comes back and Van Heerden has dropped his gloves and kind of chicken-necked his head out there as if to say, no, that didn't hurt me. It's the exact opposite. As we come to the end of round 2, I'll let you get your comments in after that. But those punches, undeniable for Errol Spence. Well, we're back. So far, it's been precision out of Spence and a little bit of histrionics out of Van Heerden. What do you make of that, fellas?
Well, if you're going to mug and clown, you better be Pernell Whitaker. You better have some defensive skills to make the guy pay for coming at you, and we haven't seen it yet from Van Heerden.
No, if Heerden's going to make this a fight, he's going to have to get Errol Spence out of his comfort zone. He's going to have to make this, I normally don't say this, make this a dirty fight.
They'll be broken here by referee Alan Hudgens. Yep, lost a mouth guard there, so Van Heerden gets it back in and will continue.
Yeah, and for the fans at home, that doesn't mean low blows. It means dirty, ugly, the kind of fight that isn't about timing and technique, because Errol Spence has that.
Yes, he does.
Oh, and that snapped back Van Heerden's head.
Missed him by an inch.
You want to talk about Spence's power as we've seen it from a few different punches here. There's a legend from the gym. When he was the sparring partner for Adrian Broner, the 30-2 former multiple world champ. The legend has it, Spence knocked out Broner in a sparring session. Spence has been asked about it before, and he won't deny it. He just says that's what they say.
You can neither confirm nor deny anything that happens in sparring. That's a rule in the gym. Everybody knows that.
That means it happened.
Yeah, it means it happened.
CompuBox says, as your own eyes tell you, that accuracy and volume heavily in favor of Spence.
Poor form to brag about that. It's a good sparring partner.
Step back, step back, step back. Let it go, Chris. Let it go. Let it go, Chris. Box.
Look at that smile. He's feeling it right now.
He really knows that those shots are effective, very effective, and those body shots is breaking his tree down.
When we met with him yesterday, there was confidence, there was some maturity for even a young man at the age of 25, but there was not any flamboyance or in my mind, overconfidence.
He knows where he is in his career. He knows what he has to do. I think he knows he's still developing. This fight, part of his development.
Well, he's got Van Heerden up against the ropes.
But he's no games, all business, aggressive. I mean, man, I'm trying to find a loophole in this game, and I just don't see it right now.
You know, Van Heerden very confident. He'd sparred with Canelo. He'd sparred with Miguel Cotto. Not lightning fast fighters, bigger fighters, hard hitters, but not guys who are going to throw combinations with this kind of speed. I think he's having trouble adjusting to the speed of Errol Spence at welterweight.
Man, and he's not moving, he's not dancing. He's in there trying to land, punishing shots, and he looks beautiful.
Look, Van Heerden is a guy who kind of squints when he fights anyways. Those squints are actually very thin right now.
Yes.
There is some swelling.
He's squinting whether he wants to or
yes,
not.
There you go.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to make it a very, very tough fight for Spence. Keep him in the corner.
Coming up on the end of round 3, a fight that all three of us think has been dominated by the man in red, white, and blue.
So okay, that he's boxing.
We're back. As you look at the graphic in the lower left of the screen right there, the U.S. team from the London Games really showing out in their professional career so far. Combined 120-1 with Errol Spence Jr., the most successful so far with 17 wins against no losses. By the way, the one loss was Rashid Warren. About a month ago, Rashid went down in defeat. All the other U.S. Olympians from 2012 clean in their pro careers. Very pleased to be judged by our unofficial scorekeeper this evening, Toronto's very own Corey Erdman. Calling it a clean sweep. No surprise. 3 rounds to none for Errol Spence Jr.
You look at Van Heerden, he's playing on the outside, moving. That's not where he's going to be successful. That's not the dirty, ugly fight that he needs, champ.
No, that's in Errol Spence's phone booth. I mean, that distance range, that's where he loves it at.
He's got to crowd him right here in the corner, and he doesn't do that. He backs off, ends up in the center. You're not going to beat Errol Spence Jr. in the middle of the ring.
I see a lot of impressive things with Errol Spence, but the thing that I'm mostly impressed with is that right hook. Man, it comes from a spot where you don't see it, and it's a delayed shot after the 1-2.
And Van Heerden doesn't have a mouthpiece, and he appeared to be in trouble in the corner ropes, but he fights his way back out, landing a couple body shots. Now a little bit of blood, it would appear, coming out of the mouth of Van Heerden, who, by the way, we do not have in our records as ever being knocked down. Now, some of the South African boxing records where he fought for a while before coming over to North America get a little spotty, but we do not have him ever being knocked down. And Spence has shown power as we've... Oh, and you know what? He just lost a point for apparently spitting the mouthpiece in Alan Hudgens' mind. It was the second time that it came out of Van Heerden, and the last thing Van Heerden needs is a point deduction.
Rolling the 4th round, and we're already getting into he can't win on scorecards territory because this has been a wipeout. That point loss, that doesn't help.
Was that the first time he spit the mouthpiece out, or you just feel like he did it on purpose?
Well, it was the second time that he came out.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty quick to take away a point.
If it comes out, it comes out. But if he did it intentionally, then that's the
Well, obviously, he wouldn't deduct unless Hudgens felt that he spit it the second time, maybe the first time as well, but it was the second time that they had to stop the fight to put it back in.
Sharp jab.
Boy. We're actually going to show you a replay of it. The truck telling us that Spence punched the mouth guard out. So if that's the case, an unfair point deduction.
Yeah, that's adding salt to the wound.
Although with some blood coming out of his mouth, he could use a saltwater gargle, I would think, right about now. We'll show it to you in just a second here, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up on 20 seconds remaining in round number 4. Scheduled for 10 in our first fight of the night. Great to be with you for another episode of Friday Night Lights Out here on Spike.
Antonio, last night at dinner, you and I were talking about southpaws with great jabs. There aren't many out there. Errol Spence doing a lot of damage with that sharp lead hand. Great jab.
Well, the referee said that Van Heerden spit it out. The videotape says he hit it out.
They're going to stop the fight because of the jab. They need more jabs. Bust him up, make him react, then shoot the shots. When he dip down, boom, boom, to the side.
That was in between rounds 4 and 5. Back live in Toronto right now. That was Derek James, the corner man for Errol Spence Jr. saying they'll stop this fight because of jabs. Keep throwing them.
I agree completely. I think that's been the key to the fight. That sharp jab of Errol Spence Jr.
And just to clean up what we showed you at the end of round 4, you think that was a legitimate point deduction or no, Antonio?
No, not at all. Not at all, because he knocked it out with a jab. That's all part of the fight.
I want to remind you, light heavyweight champ Liam McGeary battles Tito Ortiz, plus a 4-man, one-night tournament that's going to crown a #1 contender and Glory kickboxing action, all in the same arena. You got to check out Bellator MMA Dynamite. Special night. It comes your way Saturday, a week from tonight, September 19th, live here on Spike.
Man, you got to love the leverage that Spence is generating over there in that corner.
Uppercut, brutal, right through the center.
Body shots.
problem is Van Heerden thinks he can protect himself by keeping his hands high, but Spence is going right through the middle. He's not moving his head at all. It's an easy target.
It's just the volume of punches. They're coming from everywhere.
Antonio, Jimmy, that left eye looks like big problems vision-wise for Van Heerden. You'll see it again in just a moment here. What, if anything, can Van Heerden do to try and compensate if indeed that thing, look at that thing. If you get a look at it, it doesn't appear he can see something coming on that from that right side of Spence.
Hit the one in the middle. There's not a lot you can do with one eye. Depth perception is gone.
Well, granted, I mean, he's in there, he's fighting tough. He's showing a lot of heart tonight, but he's just outclassed, man. I mean, this is just a different class of fighters.
The Latin Snake, Sergio Mora, tweeting in, them body shots. Hashtag PBC on Spike.
The one thing Van Heerden can do is throw at this range where he doesn't have to judge the range. You know, they're inside. You know your opponent's in front of you. You can't see, but you can still throw. But Spence Jr. keeping it at this range, showing he can fight really well inside. So far, nothing he can't do. This is the kind of fight Van Heerden wants.
We've been talking all night about these big power shots that Spence have landed, but you have a Heerden that's still here. He's still here, he's still trying.
Problem is he's not throwing very much in these positions. Finally has Spence where he can't move, where you can see him. He's just not unloading.
The difference here is balance. Look at how he's fumbling and bumbling all over the place. And when you see Spence have him in the corner, he's settled. And he's got both feet on the ground solidly.
And Heerden trying to prove he can still throw as we come to the end of 5, scheduled for 10. Well, in South Africa right now, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And the Van Heerden family, a family of fighters, as you can see on the graphic, watching from back home. Chris Van Heerden left everything behind in his home country to come for fame, glory, and success in the sport of boxing here in North America. And right now, he's fighting with one eye, guys.
There's a such thing in boxing as just the wrong amount of heart. Just enough to stay in it, but not enough to turn it up enough to put your opponent in jeopardy. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing from Van Heerden so far. He has just enough heart to stay in it, but isn't unloading when he should.
And then even when he lands, it doesn't seem like he has the type of power that can truly hurt Earl Spence.
Oh, and the left staggers Van Heerden back. Able to gather himself. Spence didn't press right there. Corey Erdman's scorecard. Clean sweep across the board, and then that 10-8 round with the point deduction as referee Alan Hudgens viewed Van Heerden's mouthguard coming out for the second time in this fight as a spit mouthguard, and therefore a 1-point deduction foul.
When you're winning the jab battle, it's easy to go back to square one. You unload a little bit, then you go back to the jab and start all over again. That's what Spence's jab is allowing him to do tonight. You see he gets him in trouble, doesn't have to overextend, he goes right back to the jab again.
Step back. Box.
We heard earlier from Errol Spence's trainer, Derek James. James told us in the fighter meeting that we'll see a good fight if Van Heerden can go rounds. Well, we're in the back half of the fight right now. Hasn't been scintillating yet. Scintillating for James's guy for sure.
One thing you're not seeing from Spence is the sense that he's putting a whole lot behind any one punch. His gas looks good. He's fighting at an even pace, even though he's unloading on Van Heerden. It doesn't look good for Van Heerden in the late rounds.
Okay, Chris. All right. If you want to do it, back it up. You're the man in the ring.
Stop. Don't step back. Whoops.
Yeah, a heavy bag when you hit it, it moves too, but that doesn't mean stop hitting it.
I think the thing I'm going to want to see if it gets to 7, 8, 9. I mean, will the young man start to lose it, or unravel, or feel like he needs something, to do something impressive to, really keep that buzz going?
So far, though, fighting at a very measured pace, not giving the sense that he's trying to get a knockout or look for anything flashy. He's content to go to work. That's what he's done for 6 rounds.
10 seconds.
You would think, as we finish the round, that Van Heerden's not enjoying himself. He's trying to convince himself otherwise with his body language. Chris Van Heerden with a badly swollen left eye. Antonio, Jimmy, percentage of how much vision he has out of that left eye right now.
Zero. if you're lucky, 10%.
Wow.
You can barely see anything out of that thing.
That uppercut has been vicious all night long. Love it.
And when it's not that, it's the jab right on that eye.
And what makes that jab so effective is even when you're setting up, you have to start over when that jab hits you. You got to start over every time.
Van Heerden, okay, waving in Spence. Still feeling for the rope there. Talking to him. Again, Van Heerden has never been knocked down in his professional career. Not that we could find in any of our researcher records going back to his fights in South Africa as well. Spence, loving to get a big showing here tonight, which he's piling up the points for sure. Might start feeling like, let me get a knockdown in here to flash on the highlight reel.
And that's what I was touching on, you know, because in the back of his mind, he's thinking like he's watching himself right now, saying, am I being impressive enough, or do I need to put a stamp on this?
Well, if he's going to get a knockdown, it'll come from the power punches. CompuBox has it this way, almost 50% landing for Errol Spence Jr. 112 of them by their count, compared to just 26% for Van Heerden.
What Van Heerden is relying on with the mugging, with the clowning, is that maturity will be the difference. I'll get this young kid angry, get him off his game, get him to throw something stupid. But so far, I don't see Spence Jr. doing that.
No, he's been mistake-free in this fight.
I mean, if you're into desperation mode, we're in 7 of 10 here, guys, with a clean sweep on virtually everyone who's watching this fight's scorecard. Van Heerden's in knockout or nothing range. So why not try every trick in the book?
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, and down he goes for the first time in his career. Chris Van Heerden knocked down at the fists of Errol Spence Jr.
And that looked like it landed from the back of the head, right on the top of the ear, and he didn't see that punch, and that's why it was that effective.
Didn't see it coming at all.
Will he go for the close? He has 40 seconds with which to work in round 7.
Have to remember, it's round 7. He's been eating punches this entire time. All that damage soaking in. I don't think that was the hardest shot he's been hit with tonight. It's just after all the damage he's taken, it's not going to take much.
And again, that body...
And that's a low blow, I believe.
Nope.
No, he's calling it a knockdown. Alan Hudgens starting the count.
It could have been low, but it looked like a clean body shot. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Time out.
This is...
Come here.
It's a tape.
Wait.
Stay in that corner.
Oh, tape on the glove of Errol Spence?
Yep.
I saw that about 30 seconds prior to the knockdown coming loose. Boy, unfortunate timing here as Spence wanted to flash.
Time in.
Yeah, he's ready to go. Just seconds remaining here. In fact, 10 seconds remaining. Oh, and what? Oh, you know what? The clapper went, and he thought it was the bell. And that shows you the mental state of Chris Van Heerden.
Very true.
He turned his back to think the round was over on the clapper, guys.
He's rocked and he's hurt.
First time you ever really been down.
You got to wonder now if the corner's going to send him out.
Give me the water.
We're going to look at the replay of the second knockdown.
Come on, Chris.
As I thought originally it might be called a low blow, but it looked like it was a body shot
You're in great shape.
right at the belt, perhaps.
You got to give it to him.
That sent Van Heerden down twice.
You want to stop? No. Are you sure? No. Okay.
Okay, here's the first knockdown, fellas.
Short left hand, like you said, right behind the ear. That's a knockout shot. Takes your equilibrium right away from you.
Wake up, baby. Come on. And you got to dig. Hands up. Stay off the ropes. Stay off the ropes.
Beautiful. And that body shot.
In the middle of the ring.
And it was a delayed reaction.
It takes a while to get all the air out.
And here at the end of the round, listen. Oh, well, okay, the clapper went, Van Heerden turned his back, and still had about 5-6 seconds to fight because it was the 10-second clapper. On the left side of the screen, we bring it back full. We are now into round number 8. And Errol Spence Jr. has been as advertised. Although Van Heerden
landed 2 or 3 good shots.
And once again, the mouthpiece. This is Spence's mouthpiece, however.
Got knocked out by one of those sharp shots we saw early in the round.
Let's see if a point will be taken for this one.
Yeah,
I don't think so. And I don't think it would make any difference if it did.
Spence felt something there as they, after the break for the mouthpiece, he wanted every bit of it. And Spence feeling it. Van Heerden still jitterbugging. But now he can only lay up against the ropes. This seems like it could be a matter of time. And you know what? That's enough. Alan Hudgens stops the fight in round number 8. Errol Spence Jr. They say the next Floyd Mayweather. That was an impressive performance.
You and I, champ, looking for flaws throughout this fight. Looking for something to say, here's what I would improve. I didn't see much.
Not much at all. I mean, looking at the fact that he's going to have to improve on opponents, he's going to have to start moving his head a little bit more, and maybe a little foot movement, foot action would be good.
Boy, Spence, after Spence lost his mouthpiece, he was like, okay, enough's enough. Dove back in, and it didn't last much more than 20 or 30 seconds after that break. Van Heerden just holding on for dear life.
And I think that was a very intelligent stoppage. Van Heerden had seen enough.
And guys, just to reiterate, Van Heerden, a fighter at 23-1-1 coming in here.
Yeah.
The one loss that he had was a disputed loss on a judge's scorecard that Van Heerden didn't feel he lost. This was a quality fighter who was taken apart by a guy who looks like he could be a superstar. We're going to take one more commercial timeout, get the official decision, and then have an in-ring interview with the man who could be the next great one in this great sport. Stand by. Welcome back live to Toronto. There you see a man with a smile. Well, it's $1 million smile, and he's going to be in multi-million-dollar fights in his future. Here's why. Take a look at the final CompuBox stats here. 40% of his punches. See the power punches almost at 50%. Loading up against Chris Van Heerden, champ. Let's go back into the ring. Get the official announcement with Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the ring, referee Alan Hudgens waves off the contest. Officially 50 seconds into round number 8. The winner by TKO, still undefeated, Errol, the Truth, Spence Jr.
Well, he said he wanted to come into this fight as a top prospect. He wanted to leave as a contender. Is he ready for a top 10 fight in your mind, Antonio?
I think a top 10, definitely the bottom half. But hey, he's ready. You know, Intercontinental he mentioned. I mean, that's right up his alley. But I mean, by the end of next year, he's ready to take over the sport as well as the welterweight division.